Hey everyone, I hope you're well. So I keep getting asked about, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity to jump on and show you a bit about how I do it and the tools that I use. And it's this tool that I created has served me well. So obviously I've expanded here so you can see it a bit more. But in essence, my deal analyzer, it looks a bit like this, and it's got multiple strategies, which I will talk about in a second. SA analysis, HMO analysis, comparables, and then pipeline tracker as well. But over the last few years using this, I've analyzed thousands of deals, and it serves me well. But more to the point, it saves me so much time. So at the beginning, we add in all obviously the contact details, property details, what we've offered, etc., and then we kind of we go through the motions of adding in purchase price that automatically. So basically, the grey boxes are what you add in, and the white boxes are what automatically calculates. And it's the formulas that I sit behind this pipeline and deal tracker save me so much time, because it is literally just punching in the numbers that we need, and the rest takes care of itself. So what we need to do is obviously gather the data. So we go on the viewings, we analyze, what the refurb's going to be, etc. What I tend to do is insert an actual note here of, what the refurb might be. So, rewire 3,000, etc. And then as you go through your journey, because you're not always going to get every deal straight away. And if you're doing enough viewings, it's quite easy to forget stuff, and forget what properties look like. So take pictures, but also get your costs in your notes. And then it's easy, if, quite like 6-7 months down the line, sometimes it's being like, this deal's fallen through. Would you like to go ahead with it? Have you still got money to buy it, etc. So we just quickly jump back to this. We're like, yeah, okay, it needs that as a project. And then we look at the figures and we see if we can go ahead or not. So sourcing fees, broker fees, HMO licenses, all the kind of upfront costs are put in here. We then tweak the sort of deposit and all that good stuff here. Monthly, what we're going to get is a monthly let. I do analyze everything on a single let basis when buying, and I'll come on to rent in a bit. But when I'm purchasing, I do analyze it for single let, because I think if you can get a good deal on a single let basis, and then if you want to switch it in SA, you're going to get an even better deal. But there's no saying that SA is going to be around forever. It might get heavily regulated. We just don't know. Tenants are going to be around forever. So I think you should always analyze on that basis. I might and have done during 6 months where things have been a bit tighter. Their prices have obviously gone up. The BRR strategy has been a bit harder to say, okay, well, we are going to run it as an SA, and I can see SA lasting for at least the next 3 years. So does that give us the chance to get our money out using that strategy? And I might tweak the figures slightly to then go ahead and buy a deal. But I try and analyze them, and prior to COVID, always analyze them on a simple single let strategy. Put in new market value, then obviously new details. Now, what you might notice is this is a very old school way of doing it, mortgage to mortgage, which I actually don't advocate, but the figures still work fairly similar. You can tweak this here if you wanted to put a larger deposit in, and you could tweak these here to make it look like a bridging loan. But the good thing is down here, I've actually got that covered in my own bridging loan calculator, but I still put the figures in at the top here, and then it all filters down at the bridging loan section. So we got new market value, monthly payment's going to be, and then if you want to flip it, it would tell you what your flip viability was. So roughly how much return on investment you get, what profit you get out the deal, and then your deal assessment. So exit option as a buy to let with no refinance would be that. So you'd have your money tied up for 126 months. You'd have your monthly cash flow be 374. Yeah, it'll be an okay return on your investment, but that for me is an absolute killer, and it stops your BRR journey in the tracks. This is how people used to invest, or this is still how a lot of people invest when they don't understand what BRR is. They don't understand what the power of it is and how you can recycle your money. They just dump it in the property for 10 years, 15 years until it pays out, and it gives them a small little profit per month. You can't move quick and you can't build stuff quick doing it that way. These are the figures that I really hone in on So really what I want to know is what my refinance monthly cash flow is. You'll see here it's in red. That's because it's 2 less. Threshold is £300 or more. So this is basically telling me that there's not enough cash flow out of this deal. Cash out from refinancing, and how much months before money in the deal. So the money in the deal here is pretty good in terms of 9 months and you got all your money back out, which is great. But the refinance monthly cash flow is a bit light. So you might want to tweak a few things to see what it might be. Obviously, you go from 70 to 130, which is quite a jump. So it is more than likely a bit unrealistic. So let's assume it's 110, and we. So we've got 110 and then 82 to 410 all the way through. And then what we do is we go down. You see that's gone green now because obviously it's changed the monthly payment because we're borrowing less. And then we go down here and you'll also see that obviously the months, but then the delta is actually crept up now because we're leaving too much money in the deal. So, the cash flow now, these have both got to be green for me to go ahead with it. And this is where the quick decisions come from. So, the quick decisions come from, just looking at the green or red light system. And then from that, I just say, we say yes or no. Does it work? Does it not work based on the numbers? I'm confident in the formulas behind all this now that, they play out time and time again. Obviously, we've got research information here where we put in comparables. We put in, when was it last sold, any notes about the property that we need to know of. And then if you wanted to move into a bridge, so if you're going to bridge the finance to start off with, then you would use this section here. And ultimately, it gives you the same information at the end, which is kind of, what's left in the deal and what's the monthly cash flow. I do have a lease option analysis as well. So if you want to take, then, your current market value might be 100 grand. And then you are going to agree a 10-year term. And what this then does is it calculates this. If you give it a second, the deal analyzer will catch up with itself. And basically this will change because what it does is what we need to do is put the interest in first. So assuming there's a 1.5% growth per annum, then it automatically compounds that, and then it shows you that, okay, in 10 years' time, that property is going to be worth 116,000. So if you were to, do a lease option and agree that you're going to pay 116,000 in 10 years' time for the property, based on a 1.5% uplift each year, then you're still going to be in good stead as long as the market continues to grow that way. It then allows you to, you might have a consideration fee of 2 grand. You might, need to furnish the property, whatever you're going to do with it. It gives you, obviously the refurb cost in here is pulling from the initial refurb cost that we put up here. So it's quite steep for a lease option, but at the same time, if you're going to own a property, then, you can get a lease option without having to pay the stamp duty and the deposit and all that stuff on top. And then again, your monthly rent, you just bang them in there, and it actually then tells you what your rolling profit is. So if we were to just do 650, I don't use letting agents, 20 quid insurance, for example, 47 months to recoup your setup costs, not your refurb costs. And then obviously it calculates through here. So it shows you basically what your rolling profit would be. So by year 4, you'd be in profit. I mean, this isn't the best leased option deal in the world. Certainly not something I would look for. The cash flows, a lot of outlay for very little back in the early years. But, by year 10, you're going to have a rolling profit of 45 grand. If we assume that, let's say, this property only had a 5 grand refurb, and obviously these figures are going to start to look quite pretty, and you're going to have your money back out pretty much by months, 18, something like that. And then after that, it's going to roll, and over the course of a 65-year period, over the course of 10-year period, you're going to earn 65 grand from, an initial outlay of 10,250 quid, which is, a decent return on your money. So various ways you can analyze a purchase through using this, and obviously we just then bang them in go along here each time we've got a new property. We just add them all in, and this also helps with keep it as a follow-up tracker as well. So really good tool, and I'd advise you, if you haven't got something like this in your armory, find one, build one, just make sure you've got some form of tracking numbers, and make sure that it's every single one by itself. I've taken this one step further, and I've sort of put it into a rent-to-rent strategy, as well as a purchase strategy. So this will pull the information from the first sheet. So you'll see here we've got the rents pulled through, the mortgage payments pulled through, and then obviously I've already preloaded these, the gray areas, so just your kind of bills. But furniture in here, if you've got a rent-to-rent deal and you're paying deposits, you bang them in here. And obviously, if you are paying rent instead of a mortgage, then you put it in there and you take out the mortgage payment. And or similarly, if you were doing a rent-to-rent deal, you'd probably just start straight on this sheet as opposed to starting on the BRR sheet. But if you do start on the BRR sheet, it feeds through onto this sheet. Which again, just saving time. I'm all about saving time. The more you can save time on things like this, the more time you can spend on the tasks, building relationships, finding investor money, that sort of thing. So this calculates everything. What we then do is we bang in, what we predict to be, how many nights will we get booked, how many weekends will we get booked, what our average price will be. Then automatically calculates what your total stays are, your average stays. Your minimum nightly stay, 3 nights, cost of your cleaning fees, your linen fees, and then it basically tells you what your gross revenue is. So this is run as an SA, and net profit of this. And then if you want to take it further, it goes into seasonal analysis. So I like to know roughly, this is based on my predictions of what the percentages are in terms of occupancy and the rate based on the seasons. And then it basically tells you what the initial payback is. Again, the green red light system. So I've got a red light system that all money must be paid back by month 6. So as long as this column here is green, then this is a deal worth investing in. And that's kind of what we were. It takes all emotion out of it. Does it not work? And, analysis paralysis seems to be one of the biggest things that stops people moving forward. So, for me, this just takes all that emotion out, and it's just, does it work? Does it not work? Simple as that, no questions asked. And then you can see first year, second year, third year profit with some increase in, annual gains on that, because you'd assume that you get better at your operation and you get more efficient with your costs. You're better at driving bookings, that sort of thing. So you are naturally going to have a better business model as you move forward. So that should increase your profits on that front. HMO analysis is very similar. Obviously, the cost element here doesn't have the per nightly rate. What we have instead here is the room by room rents. And again, it tells us, what our revenue is going to be. I base it on an 83% occupancy. Assume that pretty much we've got one room empty for the whole of the year. Because I think if you can analyze, then not only are you going to stay safe and on the right side of the figures, but, if you do manage to keep your properties full for the whole year, you're going to be in a lot better position. And then again, red and light green system to make sure if it's worth investing, not investing, purely based on numbers and not emotion. And then obviously your profits. So that is how I analyze deals. This is how all my team analyze deals. I've trained them on this, and this is how all my clients now analyze deals. And it is just a simple way to be able to go on a view and come back, bang it on here, and it'll tell you whether to do it or not. It'll also tell you what offer to make. So, with the BRR, for example, we'll say here, this is pumping out a bit too high figures for probably what it is. But say here we've got 17% discount. We're going to leave, we've got £298 cash flow and 29. That's 2 green lights for me. Sometimes these stay white instead of going green for some reason, but as long as they're not red, that's the main thing. It's going to take me money left in the deal, 8,713 quid. So that is, my offer. If I wanted to, let's say, for example, this would only value it 85 grand, then this is going to be obviously far too less of a discount, and the money's going to get tied up for too long. So what you then do is you tweak the top number here until you get to a point where it works for you. So 19%, total investment cost 322 monthly cash flow, 18 months money out, 5 grand left in the deal. Boom, that is the number that we want to, so then we ring the agent, right, I'd like to make 60 grand offer on that property, you know. And it's as simple as that, because you know your numbers work. What you can then do is, as you're negotiating, you know, you might push to 62 grand, just quickly have a look. Okay, well, how does that affect the figures? I'll just wait for these to change, but predominantly, obviously, it's going to make this go down slightly and this go up slightly. And there you go, money left in the deal, 7,853 quid instead of the 500 big grand. So, but it's still, you know, getting money out within 2 years, and it's still cash flowing well throughout the period. So I would be like, okay, well, we can maybe negotiate up to 62 grand. And this is how you can quickly play around with it, rather than always having to go back to a bit of paper, or, you know, going to just guesstimates, which are the worst thing you can do. And, you know, for me, it saved me so much time, but more to the point, it saved me so much money, because deals that we might go on and you might do in your head on paper, and you might miss a cost out, or you do it on the back of a fag packet and you miss a cost out, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I forgot about that. And then that just kills the deal altogether. This gives you red lights. It basically says, don't do it. So, you know, for me, it's been an absolute wonder, you know, in my property investment. Luckily, I taught myself how to write formula, and I really understood how Google Sheets and Excel spreadsheets worked about 5-6 years ago. And, you know, I was able to put something like this together. If you do want a copy of it, obviously just hit the link in the description and download it. And if you've got any questions, just drop them in the comments below and I'll get them answered for you. But I hope that helps, and I hope that shows you how I analyze deals and how my team analyze deals, and how we, you know, efficiently move the business forward quickly. Have an awesome day, everyone. Take care.